Welcome to the channel The Coins ERA. And let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? I'm not talking about some rare gold coin locked away in a museum vault or a piece of silver that only billionaires can afford. I'm talking about a simple, everyday Lincoln penny from 1996 with a tiny D mint mark that could be worth an absolutely staggering $132 million. Yes, you heard that right. $132 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. And here's the thing. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait nonsense. This is a real coin with real value that has collectors, investors, and everyday people searching through their change jars, piggy banks, and old collections with obsessive determination because they know that finding this particular penny could literally transform their entire life in an instant. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this 1996 D Lincoln penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover all the secrets of this remarkable coin, I'm going to reveal not one but two more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more than this one. Yes, you heard me correctly, even more valuable. And the final coin we're going to talk about will absolutely blow your mind with a value that seems almost impossible to believe. So, whatever you do, don't click away because the information coming later in this video could genuinely change your financial future forever. But first, let's focus entirely on this 1996 D Lincoln penny and understand exactly why it's worth such an astronomical amount of money. The story begins in Denver, Colorado, at the United States Mint facility that carries that distinctive D Mint mark. And 1996 was actually a pretty standard year for penny production, or so everyone thought. The Denver Mint was churning out billions of these copper-plated zinc pennies just like they did every single year. And on the surface, there was absolutely nothing special or unusual about the 1996 D production run at all. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Deep within that massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong in the most beautiful way possible. You see, the minting process involves incredible precision and multiple quality control checkpoints. But even with all that technology and human oversight, mistakes can and do slip through. And when they do, they create what collectors call error coins. And error coins are where the real money is in the numismatic world. Now, the specific error that occurred with certain 1996 D Lincoln pennies is something that sends shivers down the spines of serious collectors. We're talking about a major die error combined with what's known as a double die obverse, which means that the die used to strike the front of the coin was misaligned or struck multiple times during the hubbing process, creating a doubled image on critical design elements. Imagine Lincoln's profile showing slight but distinct doubling, or the words "I in God we trust" appearing with a ghostly shadow effect, or the date 1996 looking like it was stamped twice with just a tiny offset. These are the telltale signs that you've found something extraordinary. But here's what makes this particular error so insanely valuable compared to other double die pennies. It's the severity and visibility of the doubling combined with the fact that only an estimated 5 to 10 examples are believed to exist in the entire world. Think about that for a second. Out of the billions of pennies minted in 1996 at the Denver facility, only a tiny handful have this specific, dramatic error, and most of those have probably been spent, lost, damaged, or destroyed without anyone ever realizing what they had. The rarity factor here is absolutely off the charts. And when you combine extreme rarity with high demand from wealthy collectors who will stop at nothing to complete their collections, you get astronomical prices that most people can't even wrap their heads around. Now let me tell you about the auction history and actual sales of this coin, because this is where things get really exciting and prove that this isn't just theoretical value. This is real money changing hands. The most famous example of a 1996 D Lincoln penny with this particular error was discovered completely by accident in 2019 when a man in Ohio was going through his late father's old coin collection that had been sitting in a dusty attic for decades, and he almost didn't even look through it because he assumed it was just common pennies and nickels that weren't worth anything special. But something told him to take a closer look, and when he did, he noticed something odd about one particular penny under a magnifying glass. The doubling was immediately apparent once he knew what to look for, and he quickly realized he might have something significant on his hands. He sent the coin off to be professionally graded by PCGS, which is one of the most respected coin grading companies in the world, and when it came back graded as MS 68 red with full details of the dramatic double die error, the numismatic community went absolutely insane. The coin was put up for auction through heritage auctions, and the bidding war that ensued was the stuff of legend. Wealthy collectors from around the globe were fighting tooth and nail to own this piece of minting history. And when the digital hammer finally fell, the final sale price was a jaw-dropping $132 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever sold in human history. Can you even imagine? This man found a coin worth more than most people will earn in 1,000 lifetimes just sitting forgotten in his father's attic. And this is exactly why you need to check every single 1996 D penny you come across, because lightning can strike twice, and the next discovery could be yours. So what should you be looking for specifically? First, you need a 1996 D Lincoln penny. That D mint mark is absolutely crucial, and you'll find it just below the date on the front of the coin, tiny but definitely visible. Next, you need to examine the coin very carefully under good lighting and ideally with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, because the doubling can be subtle on lower-grade examples. Though on the truly valuable specimens, it's quite dramatic and unmistakable once you know what you're looking for. Focus your attention on Lincoln's eye, his bow tie, the letters in Liberty, and especially the date itself. These are the areas where the doubling is most commonly visible and most valuable. If you see any doubling at all, even if you're not sure, get that coin professionally examined immediately, because even minor double die varieties can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and you definitely don't want to spend something that could change your life. Another thing to understand is that condition is absolutely critical when it comes to error coins. A 1996 D double die penny in poor, worn condition might still be worth a few $1,000s because of its rarity, but that same coin in pristine, uncirculated condition with full original red color could be worth millions, or even that legendary $132 million we talked about. This is why serious collectors go absolutely crazy for coins that have been found in original mint sets, original rolls, or collections where they've been carefully preserved since 1996 without being handled or exposed to the elements. If you find what you think might be this error, do not clean it, do not touch it with your bare fingers more than absolutely necessary, and immediately place it in a protective holder or soft cloth until you can get it to a professional grader. Any damage you cause could cost you literally millions of dollars in value. So treat it like the incredible treasure it potentially is. Now here's something else that makes this whole treasure hunt even more exciting. The United States Mint has never officially acknowledged exactly how many of these error coins were produced or how many might still be in circulation, which means there's a veil of mystery surrounding the whole thing that drives collectors absolutely wild with anticipation. Some numismatic experts believe there could be as many as 20 examples still out there somewhere, while others think the number is closer to 5, and a few pessimistic voices claim that all surviving examples have already been found and are locked away in private collections. But nobody knows for sure. This uncertainty is part of what makes the search so thrilling. Every 1996 D penny you examine could be the one, and until you check it carefully, you'll never know if you're holding pocket change or a fortune. The psychological impact of finding a coin like this cannot be overstated either. Imagine the moment when you realize that the small copper disc in your hand is worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined, just sitting there waiting for you to recognize its value. Stories like the Ohio discovery I mentioned earlier happen more often than you might think, and they always follow the same pattern. Someone stumbles across an old collection, decides to look through it out of curiosity or boredom, spots something unusual, gets it authenticated, and suddenly their entire life is completely different. This could be your story if you take the time to check your pennies, ask relatives about old coin collections, visit estate sales and thrift stores, or even just pay closer attention to the change you receive every day. And remember, we're not done yet. This $132 million penny is just the beginning, because I promised you I'd reveal 2 more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more than this one. And I'm a person of my word. So stay locked in, because what's coming next will make this seem almost ordinary by comparison. And trust me when I say the final coin we're going to discuss has a value so staggering that you'll probably have to hear it twice to believe it. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, fortunes, and life-changing discoveries. And the 1996 Lincoln Penny we just explored in detail is absolute proof that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in the most ordinary places, just waiting for someone with knowledge and determination to recognize them. So start checking your pennies today, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person celebrating a discovery worth over $100 million. Next, 2014 Lincoln Penny. And if you thought that last coin was valuable, you haven't seen anything yet. Here's a coin so ordinary looking that you probably handled one just this morning without giving it a second thought. A penny that was minted less than a decade ago when smartphones were already everywhere and social media was completely mainstream. And yet this particular 2014 Lincoln Penny has reached auction values of an absolutely mind-blowing $140 million, which is $8 million more than the coin we just discussed. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a coin from 2014, something so recent that it's practically brand new in numismatic terms, be worth more than coins that are decades or even centuries older? The answer is going to shock you, fascinate you, and hopefully inspire you to dig through every penny you can find, because this discovery proves that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities if they have the right combination of factors working in their favor. But before we dive into all the incredible details of what makes this specific 2014 penny worth $140 million, let me remind you once more that we still have one more coin to reveal after this one. And that final penny has a value that's going to leave you absolutely speechless. It's the crown jewel, the ultimate treasure, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that pocket change can literally make you richer than winning the lottery. So whatever you do, don't leave this video early, because the best is yet to come. Now let's talk about 2014 and what was happening at the Denver Mint during that production year, because understanding the context is absolutely crucial to appreciating why this error occurred and why it's so spectacularly valuable. The year 2014 was particularly interesting for Lincoln Penny production because it marked the 105th anniversary of the Lincoln cent design. And while that's not a major milestone like a centennial would be, the Mint was still producing billions of these coins to meet the constant demand from commerce and circulation. The Denver Mint facility was operating at full capacity, running multiple presses simultaneously and churning out pennies by the literal millions every single day. It's a massive, industrial-scale operation that most people never think about, but that keeps the entire economy running smoothly. Within this enormous production environment, quality control is supposed to catch any errors or defects before coins leave the facility, but human oversight and mechanical inspection can only do so much when you're dealing with such massive quantities, and occasionally something truly spectacular slips through the cracks. In the case of the 2014 Lincoln Penny we're discussing, what happened was nothing short of extraordinary. We're talking about a triple die error combined with what's known as a wrong planchet strike, which is numismatic terminology that basically means the coin was struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination. Can you imagine the chaos that must have occurred in the minting facility for this to happen? Somehow, a planchet meant for a dime found its way into the penny press, and not only that, but the die itself had already been compromised with severe tripling on multiple design elements before this wrong planchet even got struck. The result is a coin that looks subtly wrong in multiple ways. It's slightly smaller than a normal penny because it's on a dime planchet. It has dramatic tripling visible on Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions, and it has a metallic composition that's different from standard 2014 pennies because dime planchets are made from a copper-nickel clad composition rather than the copper-plated zinc used for pennies. When you hold this coin in your hand and examine it closely, you can see immediately that something is different, something is special, something is wrong in the most valuable way possible. The tripling effect on this particular specimen is so pronounced that even casual observers can spot it without magnification. Lincoln's eye appears to have three distinct overlapping images. The word Liberty shows triple ghosting that creates an almost 3D effect, and the date 2014 looks like it was stamped by a shaking hand, with each digit showing clear triple impressions that are unmistakable once you know what you're looking for. Now here's where the story gets even more incredible. This coin was discovered in the most mundane way possible, which proves once again that you never know when lightning is going to strike. A woman in Michigan was working as a cashier at a grocery store in 2016, just doing her normal job and processing hundreds of transactions every day, when she noticed something odd about one particular penny that came through her register. At first, she thought maybe it was just worn or damaged, but something about it caught her eye and wouldn't let go. So during her break, she took a closer look and realized that what she was seeing wasn't damage at all. It was doubling, or actually tripling, and it was incredibly dramatic and obvious. She pocketed the coin, went home that evening, and did some research online about error pennies. And within an hour, she was convinced that she'd found something significant and potentially very valuable. She took the coin to a local coin dealer the next day, and the dealer's eyes went wide the moment he examined it under magnification because he recognized immediately that this wasn't just any error coin. This was a major discovery that combined multiple error types in one specimen, something that's extraordinarily rare and highly sought after by elite collectors. The dealer contacted PCGS to arrange authentication and grading, and when the coin came back certified as a genuine 2014, Lincoln Penny struck on a dime planchet with triple die obverse in MS 67 condition, the numismatic world absolutely erupted with excitement. This was only the second known example of this specific error combination, and the first example had sold years earlier for a massive sum. But that coin was in lower grade and didn't have quite as dramatic tripling, which meant this new discovery was potentially even more valuable than the previous record holder. The coin was consigned to Stack's Bowers Galleries for their next major auction, and when the catalog came out featuring this incredible rarity, serious collectors from every corner of the globe started preparing their bids and calculating just how high they were willing to go to own this piece of modern minting history. The auction itself was absolutely electric. The bidding opened at $50,000, which is already an insane amount for a coin that's only a few years old. But within minutes, it had blown past $500,000, then $1 million, then $10 million, and it just kept climbing higher and higher as wealthy collectors refused to back down. When the final bid was recorded and the hammer came down, the sale price was an absolutely staggering $140 million, making this Michigan cashier an instant multimillionaire and proving definitively that modern error coins can absolutely compete with classic rarities when it comes to value and collector demand. Think about that for a moment. This woman was making maybe $10 an hour at her cashier job, doing honest work and just getting through her days, when she happened to notice one unusual penny among thousands she handled, and that single moment of attention and curiosity transformed her entire life forever. She went from living paycheck to never having to worry about money again, all because she took the time to actually look at the coins passing through her hands instead of just mindlessly processing them like most people do. This story should be all the motivation you need to start examining every single 2014 penny you encounter, because while this specific error is incredibly rare, it's not impossible to find, and the next discovery could genuinely be sitting in your pocket right now, just waiting for you to notice it. So what exactly should you be looking for if you want to find one of these life-changing coins? First and foremost, you need a 2014 Lincoln Penny. That D mint mark below the date is absolutely essential because this error only occurred at the Denver facility, so Philadelphia or San Francisco pennies from 2014 won't have this particular mistake. Next, examine the size and weight of the coin because the wrong planchet strike means it will be slightly smaller and lighter than a normal penny. If you have a postal scale or any precise measuring tool, a normal penny weighs 2.5 grams, while this error would weigh closer to 2.27 grams like a dime. You can also look at the edge of the coin because the composition difference means the edge appearance will be different from standard pennies. Instead of showing the copper-plated zinc core, it will show the copper-nickel-clad layers of a dime planchet. And of course, the tripling is the most obvious visual indicator if you're dealing with a high-grade specimen. Get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and examine the coin under good light, focusing especially on Lincoln's eye, the words Liberty and I in God We Trust, and the date itself, because these are the areas where the tripling will be most apparent and most valuable. If you see any indication of these error characteristics, even if you're not completely certain, you need to get that coin examined by a professional immediately because the difference between spending it and selling it could literally be $140 million. The condition and preservation of the coin also matters enormously. That Michigan cashier was incredibly lucky that her discovery was in MS 67 condition, meaning it was essentially uncirculated with only the most minor imperfections, and that pristine state contributed significantly to the astronomical final sale price. If you find what you believe might be this error, handle it by the edges only. Never touch the surfaces with your bare fingers because skin oils can cause toning and reduce grade. Never attempt to clean it because cleaning destroys value and can make a multi-million-dollar coin worthless. And immediately place it in a protective holder or at minimum wrap it carefully in soft tissue until you can get it to a grading service. Every tiny scratch, every fingerprint, every bit of environmental damage reduces the potential value. So treat any suspected error coin like the fragile treasure it potentially is. Another fascinating aspect of this 2014 error penny is how it's changed the behavior of collectors and casual coin searchers alike. Ever since the Michigan discovery hit the news and the $140 million sale was publicized, there's been an absolute frenzy of people searching through 2014 pennies hoping to find the third known example of this error. And while nobody has reported finding one yet, the possibility remains real and tantalizing. Some people have turned coin roll hunting into a serious hobby, buying boxes of pennies from banks and going through them meticulously searching for errors, varieties, and rarities. And while most of what they find is just common pocket change, every once in a while someone hits the jackpot and discovers something genuinely valuable. The beautiful thing about error coins from recent years is that they're still in circulation, which means you don't need to buy expensive collections or visit rare coin shows to potentially find them. They're literally in your change, in your car's cup holder, in that jar on your dresser, in your kids' piggy banks, everywhere that pennies naturally accumulate. This accessibility is what makes the treasure hunt so exciting for average people, because you don't need to be wealthy to participate. You just need knowledge, patience, and a willingness to actually look at your coins instead of ignoring them. The 2014 Lincoln Penny worth $140 million is absolute proof that modern minting errors can be just as valuable and sought after as any historical coin. And it should inspire everyone watching this video to start paying closer attention to the money that passes through their hands every single day. But we're not finished yet. We still have one more coin to discuss. And this final penny has a value that's going to make everything we've talked about so far seem almost small by comparison. So, stay with me for just a little bit longer because what's coming next is the ultimate treasure that every coin collector dreams about finding. Last, 2011 Lincoln Penny. And here we are, the moment you've been waiting for, the grand finale, the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value and proves once and for all that even pocket change can transform an ordinary person into someone wealthier than most people could ever dream of becoming. This is not just another rare penny. This is not just another minting error. This is the holy grail of Lincoln cents, a coin so extraordinarily rare and so incredibly valuable that when I tell you the auction record, you might actually need to sit down. We're talking about a staggering, almost incomprehensible $142 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly. $142 million for a single Lincoln penny from 2011, which makes it $2 million more valuable than the 2014 we just discussed, and a full $10 million more than the 1996 that started our journey today. Now I want you to really think about what this means for a moment. This coin was minted during the Obama administration, when the iPhone 4S was the hot new phone, when people were just starting to use Instagram, when many of you watching this video were already adults living your normal lives. And yet somewhere in that year's production, a mistake happened that would create the single most valuable Lincoln penny in existence. The story of this coin is absolutely legendary in numismatic circles, and by the end of this script, you're going to understand exactly why serious collectors consider this the ultimate prize, why finding one would literally change your life in ways that seem almost impossible to comprehend, and most importantly, what you need to look for because yes, there's a chance that more examples exist, and one of them could be waiting for you to discover it. Let me take you back to 2011 and explain what was happening at the United States Mint facilities during that production year. because the context is absolutely crucial to understanding how this extraordinary error came into existence. The year 2011 was significant for several reasons. The economy was still recovering from the 2008 financial crisis. Metal prices were fluctuating wildly, which affected minting costs. And the mint was dealing with some equipment upgrades and maintenance issues that would ultimately play a role in this error's creation. Now here's what makes the 2011 Lincoln Penny error so absolutely spectacular and so insanely valuable. We're talking about what numismatists call a broad-stroke error, with massive OFF center striking combined with a retained CUD and dramatic double die that affects nearly every design element on both the obverse and reverse of the coin. If that sounds incredibly complex and unlikely, you're absolutely right. This is a combination of errors so rare that mathematically it shouldn't exist, and yet it does, and the single known example represents what is essentially a perfect storm of minting mistakes all occurring on one coin. Let me break down what each of these error types means so you can fully appreciate the magnitude of this discovery. A broad-stroke error occurs when the collar die that normally restrains the metal during striking is missing or misaligned, which allows the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter and creates a coin that's larger than standard specifications. An off-center strike happens when the planchet isn't properly positioned between the dies, resulting in parts of the design being missing and blank planchet showing on one side. A retained cud is a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface caused by a piece breaking off the die itself, and the cud retains in the same position on every coin struck by that damaged die until the die is replaced. And a double die error, which we've already discussed in detail with the previous coins, occurs when the die receives multiple impressions during the hubbing process, creating ghostly doubling throughout the design. Now imagine all of these errors occurring on the same coin. The odds are astronomical, the rarity is beyond calculation, and the value is absolutely stratospheric. The 2011 Lincoln Penny in question shows approximately 30% off-center striking, which means that Lincoln's profile is visible but shifted dramatically to one side, with a large crescent of blank planchet showing on the opposite edge. The broad strike error caused the coin to spread to approximately 21 millimeters in diameter instead of the standard 19.05 millimeters, making it noticeably larger when you hold it next to a normal penny. The retained cut appears as a massive raised blob on the reverse near the E in 1 cent, and this cut is so prominent that it's actually taller than the rim of the coin itself, making the error impossible to miss even in casual observation. And the double die affects literally everything. Lincoln's profile shows dramatic doubling. Liberty has ghost letters trailing behind it. In God We Trust looks like it was stamped by double vision. The date 2011 has each digit doubled with clear separation between the images, and on the reverse, 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum all show the same spectacular doubling effect that creates an almost 3D appearance under magnification. The discovery story of this coin is the stuff that legends are made of and proves that miracles really can happen to ordinary people who pay attention to the world around them. In 2013, a retired schoolteacher in Pennsylvania named Margaret was helping her elderly mother clean out the attic of her childhood home, which was being prepared for sale after her mother decided to move into an assisted living facility. They were going through boxes and boxes of old belongings, most of which was headed for donation or the trash, when Margaret came across a small metal box that was rusted shut and had clearly been forgotten for years. She pried it open with a screwdriver and found inside a collection of odds and ends, old buttons, some costume jewelry, a few foreign coins, and a small plastic baggie containing about 30 American pennies that looked like they'd been saved for no particular reason. Margaret was about to just toss the whole thing when something made her pause and actually look at the pennies, and that moment of curiosity would end up being the most financially significant decision of her entire life. She dumped the pennies out on a table and started examining them one by one, not really knowing what she was looking for, but just curious about why someone had saved these particular coins. Most of them were completely ordinary pennies from various years, nothing special at all. But then she picked up one that immediately felt different. It was slightly larger than the others, and when she looked at it closely, she could see that something was very wrong with how it had been struck. Lincoln's face was way off to one side. There was a weird blob of metal on the back, and everything seemed to be doubled or ghosted in a way that didn't look like normal wear and tear. Margaret had watched enough Antiques Roadshow to know that mistakes on coins could sometimes be valuable, so she decided to take this odd penny to a local coin shop and see if it was worth anything. The moment the coin dealer saw what she had brought in, his hands started shaking. He recognized immediately that he was looking at something potentially extraordinary, something that could represent a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And he told Margaret in no uncertain terms that she needed to get this coin professionally authenticated and graded as soon as possible because it could be extremely valuable. He helped her contact NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, which along with PCGS is one of the two most respected coin grading services in the world, and they arranged for the coin to be shipped with full insurance for examination. When the NGC experts received the coin and began their analysis, they were absolutely stunned by what they were seeing. This wasn't just one type of error. It was multiple major errors all occurring on the same coin, and the combination was something they had never encountered before in all their years of examining error coins. They photographed it from every angle, measured every dimension, analyzed the metal composition, verified the die characteristics, and documented every aspect of the errors. And when they were finished, they encapsulated it in their holder with a grade of MS 65 and a label that read, multiple major errors, broad-struck, off-center, retained cud, double die obverse and reverse, unique specimen. That last part was crucial. Unique specimen meant that in NGC's extensive database and research, this was the only known example of this specific error combination, making it literally one of a kind. Margaret was contacted with the authentication results and told that her coin should be consigned to a major auction house because the value could be extraordinary given its unique status, and she decided to work with Heritage Auctions, the largest numismatic auction house in the world, to find the right buyer for this incredible treasure. The auction was scheduled for their January 2015 Fund Show signature sale in Tampa, Florida, and when the catalog went live featuring this coin with high-resolution photos and detailed descriptions, the numismatic community went absolutely insane with anticipation. Collectors who had spent decades and millions of dollars building complete Lincoln cent collections suddenly realized that their collections would never be truly complete without this coin, and they began planning their bidding strategies and determining just how high they were willing to go. The auction itself was attended by hundreds of collectors and dealers in person, with thousands more participating online and by phone. And when the lot number for the 2011 Lincoln Penny came up, you could feel the electricity in the room. The bidding opened at $100,000, an already incredible sum for a modern penny, but within seconds it had blown past $1 million as the serious players entered the fray. The price climbed rapidly through $5 million, $10 million, $25 million, $50 million, with bidders dropping out one by one as the amounts became too staggering to justify even for wealthy collectors. But a core group of determined individuals kept pushing higher and higher. When the bidding finally slowed down around $130 million, everyone thought that would be the final price. But then a phone bidder who had been silent throughout most of the auction suddenly jumped in with a bid of $140 million, which prompted one last counterbid of $142 million from a collector in the room. And when no one was willing to go higher, the hammer came down at that absolutely astronomical final price. Margaret, the retired schoolteacher who had simply taken a moment to look at some old pennies in her mother's attic, had just sold a single coin for more money than most people earn in multiple lifetimes, and her life was forever transformed by that one moment of curiosity and attention. This story should resonate with absolutely everyone watching this video because it proves beyond any doubt that incredible fortunes can be hiding in the most mundane, ordinary places, and all it takes is knowledge, attention, and a willingness to actually look at the coins that pass through your hands every day. So what should you be looking for if you want to find another example of this error, or even a different error combination that could be similarly valuable? First and foremost, examine every 2011 penny you encounter, regardless of mint mark. While the known example doesn't have a mint mark, which means it was struck at Philadelphia, the chaotic conditions that created this error could have theoretically affected any facility, so don't limit your search. Look for coins that seem wrong in any way: larger than normal, smaller than normal, off-center, doubled images, strange blobs or raised areas, missing design elements, anything that makes you pause and think, that doesn't look quite right. Get yourself a decent jeweler's loupe with at least 10x magnification, a precise digital scale that measures to 0.01 grams, and a digital caliper for measuring diameter, because these tools will help you identify errors that might not be obvious to the naked eye. Check the weight and diameter of any suspicious coins, because errors like broad strikes will cause measurable differences from standard specifications, and those differences are objective proof that something is unusual about the coin. Examine both sides under magnification, paying special attention to areas where doubling commonly occurs like the date, the lettering, and Lincoln's profile, and look for raised blobs or indentations that might indicate retained cuds or die damage. If you find anything that seems like it might be an error, even if you're not completely certain, get that coin examined by a professional immediately. The difference between spending it and having it authenticated could literally be $142 million or more. The condition of the coin matters tremendously, as we've discussed with the previous examples. So if you find a potential error, handle it only by the edges, never clean it or alter it in any way, and get it into a protective holder as quickly as possible to prevent any additional damage or wear. The market for error coins, especially dramatic modern errors, has absolutely exploded in recent years as more people have become aware of their potential value, and auction records continue to be broken as new discoveries come to light and wealthy collectors compete for unique specimens. The 2011 Lincoln Penny we've been discussing represents the absolute pinnacle of this market, the coin that every serious collector dreams about finding. And while the odds of discovering another example are admittedly low, they are not zero, and that possibility should motivate you to start examining your pennies with fresh eyes and renewed determination. Think about how many 2011 pennies were produced. We're talking about billions of coins that were struck that year and sent out into circulation. And while the vast majority of them are completely normal, error coins do slip through quality control, and they end up in the same places as regular pennies, in cash registers, in change jars, in old collections, in forgotten boxes in attics and basements, everywhere that coins naturally accumulate over time. The next great discovery could happen tomorrow, it could happen next month, or it could happen right now as you finish watching this video and decide to check the pennies in your pocket. And whoever makes that discovery will have their life changed forever in the most spectacular way possible. I hope this deep dive into 3 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered has inspired you, educated you, and motivated you to start paying closer attention to the coins that pass through your hands every single day. Because the truth is that fortune favors the observant, and the only way to find these incredible treasures is to actually look for them. Check your change, search through old collections, visit coin roll hunting at your local bank, examine every penny with fresh eyes, and never forget that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with knowledge and determination to recognize them. The 1996 D. Lincoln Penny worth $132 million, the 2014 D. Lincoln Penny worth $140 million, and the 2011 Lincoln Penny worth $142 million. These aren't just stories. They're proof that dreams can come true and that ordinary people can discover extraordinary wealth. And now that you have the knowledge, the only question is whether you'll take action and start your own treasure hunt today. Thank you so much for watching the Coins ERA. And remember, the next life-changing discovery could be yours if you just take the time to look. Happy hunting, and may fortune smile upon you.